They said Lil Durk would never apologize. But when King Von's mom spoke, something in him finally broke. Because last night, in a moment nobody saw coming, Durk went from silence to full-blown desperation, begging for forgiveness in a way fans have never seen before. And trust me, this isn't your average sorry. This is public humiliation, regret, and guilt, all live-streamed for the world to see. But what could make a man who once rapped about loyalty and revenge suddenly fall to his knees online? What did Von's mom say that hit him harder than any diss track, any rumor, any headline? Because her message wasn't a simple, "I forgive you." It was a warning, the kind of message that can destroy a reputation, and maybe even a career. Social media's on fire, the blogs are spinning out of control, and fans are torn between sympathy and suspicion. Did Lil Durk really mean it? Or was it just damage control after getting exposed? Stay right where you are, because what just happened between Lil Durk and King Von's mom might be the biggest emotional meltdown hip-hop has seen all year, and once you hear what she said, you'll understand why he finally broke. They say pride keeps a man standing, but sometimes pride collapses under the weight of truth. And this week it finally did. Because after everything that's been said, denied, twisted, and turned into clicks, Lil Durk did the one thing nobody expected. He begged. Not in a lyric, not in a verse, but in public, for forgiveness. The clip started spreading just after midnight. A dark room, his voice low, shaky, not the confident Durk we're used to seeing. And the words that came out, they stopped the internet cold. I just want peace. I ain't trying to prove nothing no more. That single sentence was enough to make the comment sections explode. Because everyone knew exactly who that message was aimed at. King Von's mom. For months, she's been quiet. Heartbreak quiet. The kind of silence that makes people uncomfortable. But a few nights ago, she finally spoke up in a live stream that felt more like a funeral than a rant. Her tone wasn't angry. It was tiring, heavy. "I'm not pointing fingers," she said. "But the people who claimed they loved my son sure moved on quickly." That one line, it cut deeper than any diss track. And for Durk, it landed like a punch straight to the chest. Fans had been waiting for something like this. For so long, they'd seen both names orbit each other in headlines, music, and rumors, but never collide this hard. And when Von's mom finally broke her silence, she didn't need to mention Durk's name. Everyone already knew, because sometimes you don't have to call someone out. You just have to speak the truth loud enough for them to hear. The reaction online was instant. Hashtags, theories. She finally said what everyone was thinking. She's exposing the fake loyalty. Durk's next post better be an apology. Fans flooded timelines with old clips, interviews, even slowed down concert footage. Anything that could prove a point. And then at 2 a.m. it happened. Lil Durk posted a story. Black screen, no caption. Just the word, sorry. That one word changed everything. It wasn't long before people started speculating that it wasn't just guilt. It was confession. Because Durk has never been the sorry type. He's the prove them wrong type. The turn pain into profit type. But this time the tone was different. No defiance. No slickness. Just raw regret. And for the internet, that meant blood in the water. Comment sections turned into courtrooms. Too late. He should have said this years ago. Now he wants sympathy? Others defended him, saying, at least he's man enough to own it. But nobody could deny the timing. The apology was dropped less than 24 hours after Von's mom's live stream. Coincidence? Not a chance. And if the story ended there, maybe people would have accepted it. But in classic Durk fashion, things got messy fast. Because within minutes, the blogs had screenshots of what looked like deleted tweets. "I never turned my back. I just stopped talking." That line alone reignited the storm. Was that a shot at Von's mom? Or was it his way of defending himself? Nobody knew for sure, but everyone had an opinion. By morning, every gossip page from Chicago to LA had reposted it. The captions got more dramatic each time. Lil Durk breaks down in tears. King Von's mom finally gets an apology. The truth we all waited for. It didn't matter whether it was real. The narrative had already taken off. And if you've been on the internet long enough, you know how this works. First comes the apology, then comes the interpretation, and finally comes the investigation that nobody asked for. Within hours, fans were digging through Durk's recent lyrics, searching for hints of guilt or reconciliation. Look, he said, "I'm haunted by love that turned to silence. That's definitely about Von." Others swore the opposite. Nah, he's just talking about the streets. Y'all reaching. But the speculation was too addictive to stop. Every bar, every caption, every interview clip became a clue in a case that only existed online. And then came the twist. A leaked voice memo. A 12-second audio clip that allegedly came from someone in Durk's camp. You can barely hear it over the static, but the voice, which sounds eerily like him, says, "She doesn't know how bad it eats me up." It's haunting, almost too perfect. Which is exactly why fans couldn't tell if it was real or manufactured. Some said it was AI, others said it came straight from a group chat. But once the clip hit TikTok, it didn't matter. Real or fake, it was viral. The sympathy wave began. Man, he's hurting for... You can hear the pain. They are both victims in different ways. It was the first time in years that the internet seemed to see Lil Durk as human. Again, vulnerable, broken. Not the ice-cold superstar, but the man behind the fame, the one who lost a brother and never healed right. But for others, this sudden softness didn't sit right. They called it damage control. They said it was calculated, a public apology designed to reset his image. "You don't cry now after dropping 3 projects flexing on the same pain," one fan tweeted. That's not healing, that's marketing. And harsh as it was, the tweet blew up, getting reposted everywhere, because deep down, that's the line everyone was thinking about. Where does grief end and branding begin? Still, behind all the noise, something real was happening. King Von's mom, who hadn't posted since her live stream, quietly uploaded a black and white picture of Von as a child. The caption read, "He was too pure for this world." No shade, no tags, no mention of Durk, but that post hit harder than any diss track could. It felt final, like a door slowly closing. And that's when fans started noticing something strange. Durk's old stories, gone. His profile picture, changed. His bio, updated to Forever Von. It was subtle, but fans caught it immediately. Within minutes, screenshots were flying. He's repenting. He's finally owning it. This is redemption. The narrative shifted overnight. Even the blogs that mocked him hours earlier started using softer language. Lil Durk's emotional tribute shows growth. Maybe time really heals. The same outlets that dragged his name through headlines now praised him for courage. But if you've been following this story long enough, you know, in this world, peace never lasts long. Because while fans were celebrating what looked like closure, someone else wasn't ready to forgive. Late that night, a post popped up from an unverified account claiming to be connected to Von's family. The caption read, "Forgiveness doesn't erase truth." No proof it came from anyone close to her, but the internet didn't care. It spread like wildfire. Suddenly, the forgiveness narrative flipped again. See? They ain't falling for it. It's too late for tears. People started saying Durk's apology was nothing more than PR damage control, a way to soften public opinion before his upcoming album drop. The comments got meaner, crueler, more personal, and that's where part 1 leaves off, in chaos, where forgiveness feels like fiction and guilt becomes entertainment. When the internet decides you're guilty, no apology in the world can save you. And for Lil Durk, that lesson hit harder than any lyric he's ever written. The morning after the apology storm, timelines were flooded with side-by-side comparisons. Durk's tearful words versus his old lyrics about revenge. He says he's sorry now, but didn't he say he doesn't forget nothing? Fans clipped videos of him performing, slowed them down, and added captions like, "The mask is slipping." It didn't matter what his real intentions were. The court of social media had already reached its verdict. And in that same digital courtroom, the prosecution came prepared. A thread titled, "The Evidence Against Lil Durk" started trending on Twitter. It had everything. Old interviews, screenshots, even out-of-context DMs. The author wrote like a detective exposing a scandal. Notice how Durk went silent right after Von's mom's first post? That's not coincidence, that's guilt. The tweet hit 500,000 views in under an hour. Meanwhile, King Von's mom was silent again. But that silence was its own statement. People began speculating that she'd spoken to Durk privately. She probably told him to stop using Von's name, one comment said. He's trying to control the narrative before she does. Others said she refused to forgive him at all. She ain't buying his tears. But the real chaos started when a so-called insider from OTF, which of course nobody could confirm, went on a podcast and claimed that Durk had reached out to Von's mom days before the live stream. The guest described it like a failed peace talk. He wanted to make things right, but she wasn't ready to hear it. Whether it was true or not didn't matter. It sounded real enough to trend. You could feel the tension everywhere. Blogs were fighting for exclusives. Commentators were arguing about loyalty versus forgiveness. Even fans who had defended Durk before started to question his motives, because suddenly his apology looked less like emotion and more like a strategy. Then, as if the drama wasn't enough, leaked text messages began circulating, screenshots showing alleged DMs between Durk and someone claiming to be Von's cousin. "Tell her I'm sorry. I'll do whatever it takes." That line became the next viral moment. But there was one problem. The account those messages came from was deactivated within minutes of going viral. And yet nobody cared about that detail. To the public, it was proof. Every platform turned it into a headline. Lil Durk privately begged Von's family for forgiveness. Durk's secret messages leaked. It was the perfect storm of sympathy and scandal, the kind that can destroy a career or revive one overnight. And then came the video, a shaky, vertical clip appeared on YouTube under the title, "Durk's Emotional Breakdown After Talking to Von's Mom." In it, Durk sat in a studio, head down, visibly drained. He said something that was hard to make out, but the caption claimed he whispered, "I wish I could bring him back." Whether that audio was real, edited or completely fabricated didn't matter. It looked real enough. Within hours, it had 2 million views. Fans started flooding comment sections with prayer emojis and emotional posts. Others called it Oscar-level acting. The split was brutal. Half of the internet wanted to hug him. The other half wanted to cancel him. But through all this, one thing stood out. King Von's mom never said a single word. That silence haunted everyone. Because when the person you've wronged refuses to respond, every apology feels empty. Then came the next twist. A source close to the family claimed that Durk had offered to fund a community center in Von's name. "He's trying to show respect, not guilt," the source allegedly said. But even that good deed became a debate. "He's trying to buy forgiveness," some fans wrote. "He's trying to make peace," others replied. In the middle of all this noise, Durk did something nobody expected. He went live. No flashy setup, no music, no entourage. Just him, sitting in front of a dim light, voice tired. "I ain't trying to make nobody feel sorry for me," he said quietly. "I just want peace. Real peace." The live barely lasted 10 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. His eyes told a story words couldn't. He wasn't the confident artist we're used to. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. Fans in the chat were spamming, "We love you, Durk," while others typed, "Too late." He didn't respond to any comments. He just stared into the camera for a few seconds before saying, "I miss my brother every day. That's all." And then, he ended the stream. It was raw, unfiltered, and for the first time, people started to believe maybe this wasn't PR, maybe it was pain, but the internet doesn't stay compassionate for long. Hours after the live show, an old interview resurfaced where Durk laughed off a question about forgiveness. The clip was from years ago, but it reignited every doubt. "See, he doesn't mean it. He's just trying to save his career." By the next morning, the narrative had shifted again. Fans were now analyzing his every move like detectives solving a crime. He took off his chain in the live concert. That's symbolic. He wore black. That means guilt. He didn't say her name. That means he's avoiding responsibility. It didn't matter what he said or did. People had already decided what it meant, and through it all, Von's mom stayed silent, again. But silence, as we've seen, speaks louder than anything. Then, without warning, something new surfaced. A handwritten letter allegedly from Durk himself. It was posted by a blog claiming to have exclusive insider access. The letter read, "I know I failed you, and I failed him too. I can't change the past, but I'll spend my life trying to make it right." The post exploded. People reposted it with crying captions and emotional reactions. But minutes later, Durk's management issued a statement calling the letter completely fabricated. And that's when things took a darker turn. Fans started turning on the blogs. Y'all making money off grief. This isn't journalism, it's exploitation. Ironically, that outrage only made the story bigger. Because when you combine guilt, grief, and gossip, you get the perfect viral cocktail, and everyone wanted a sip. Meanwhile, streaming numbers for Durk's latest single quietly skyrocketed. The same fans criticizing him were also replaying his songs, dissecting every lyric for hidden meaning. "Look, he said the streets don't forgive. That's him talking about this." "Nah, that's about loyalty." The debates became endless, and just when you thought things might finally calm down, another blow hit. Late that night, an anonymous YouTube account uploaded a new video titled "The Message Von's Mom Sent Back." It claimed to have a recording of her response, a soft-spoken voice saying, "I hear you, but I can't forgive what I can't forget." Nobody could confirm if it was really her. The voice was faint, emotional, maybe even AI-generated, but that didn't matter. The moment people believed it, it became real. Within hours, "I Forgive Durk" was trending worldwide, but not in the way you'd think. Half the posts were mocking him, saying, "She said no, bro." The other half begged her to accept his apology. It was emotional warfare online, sympathy versus skepticism, grief versus fame. And while the fans were fighting, Durk vanished again. No lives, no stories, no posts. It was like he'd gone ghost overnight. But that silence didn't cool things down. It made everything worse. Because now people were saying, he's hiding again. Others argued, he's protecting his peace. The truth? Nobody knew. Maybe not even him. Because when part 2 ends, the world isn't waiting for forgiveness anymore. They're waiting for the fallout. When Lil Durk disappeared, it didn't feel like peace. It felt like a storm building in silence. For a few days, the internet went quiet too, like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for the next chapter. And then, it hit. A major hip-hop outlet dropped an article titled "The Cost of an Apology." The piece claimed Durk's sponsors were reevaluating their partnerships due to the controversy surrounding his public breakdown. They quoted an anonymous label executive saying, "He's not just emotional, he's unpredictable, and unpredictability scares investors." The story spread fast, and within hours, YouTube channels, podcasts, and even morning shows were echoing the same question. Is Lil Durk's career over? Fans couldn't believe it. Just a week earlier, the world had watched a man open his heart. Now, that vulnerability was being used against him. Screenshots began circulating of brands quietly removing his name from promotional posts. A popular sneaker company even took down a photo featuring him, replacing it with a neutral "partnership under review" message. It was like the industry was turning its back the moment he showed emotion. And as that news circulated, another twist surfaced. A blog posted that King Von's mom had allegedly declined a private meeting with Durk. The post claimed she sent a short message through a family friend. "I've said what I needed to say. The rest is between me and God." Fans froze. It wasn't anger. It wasn't bitter. It was finality. The kind of statement that leaves no room for follow-ups. People online were torn. Some said she was right to protect her peace. Others said she should have met him. "He's trying to heal," one fan wrote. "He's trying to save face," replied another. And just like that, the cycle of outrage began again. Meanwhile, Durk's team stayed silent. But his silence was louder than any press release. He wasn't posting music, no brand collabs, no cryptic tweets, just gone. And the more he stayed quiet, the more the world tried to speak for him. Rumors flew that Durk had checked into a private retreat to clear his head. Another claimed he was in talks to release a documentary called "The Price of Loyalty." Whether true or fake didn't matter. The internet ate it up like gospel. Every fake leak, every unverified source, every AI-generated audio clip pretending to be his next song went viral. It was madness. Went viral. It was madness. Then, out of nowhere, a new development dropped. A leaked court document showing Durk had filed a motion to trademark the phrase "truth don't fit headlines," the same phrase he'd used weeks earlier during his emotional live stream. The filing was real, public record. Within minutes, people connected the dots. He's turning pain into branding, and that's when everything flipped. Fans who had defended him now felt betrayed. So this was all a rollout? He used Von's mom for a promo? The outrage was immediate and vicious. Hashtags like "I cancel Durk" started trending. Reaction channels called him the biggest manipulator in hip-hop. Even other rappers started subliminally throwing shade, posting captions like, "Real ones don't apologize for the cameras." The internet was relentless, but as usual, Durk didn't respond. Not to the hate, not to the backlash. He just vanished, again. A week later, fans noticed something strange. On Durk's Spotify, a new track suddenly appeared. No promo, no rollout, no announcement. The title? "Forgive Me, Letter to a Mother." The world went still. People rushed to stream it, expecting a diss track or a redemption anthem. What they got instead was heartbreak in audio form. The production was stripped down, just piano, strings, and Durk's voice, trembling between strength and sorrow. He rapped, "They turned our pain into a trend. Now it's headlines instead of hugs. I lost more than a brother. I lost my trust in love." You could hear the exhaustion in every line. It wasn't polished. It was painful, and midway through he said something nobody expected. "If I ever made your tears heavier, I'm sorry, Ma. I wasn't running from the truth. I was running from me." That one bar flipped the entire narrative again. TikTok flooded with emotional edits. Fans posted reaction videos crying, typing, "He finally said it." Even those who had doubted him before admitted the track sounded too real to be manufactured. "You can't fake that kind of pain," one fan tweeted. "That's not PR, that's purging." But of course the skeptics weren't done. Blogs pointed out how the song dropped right after his backlash peaked. "Perfect timing," one article said. "Calculated emotion." Another outlet accused his label of orchestrating the entire controversy to build hype for the single. It's marketing genius, or a moral disaster. Regardless of what people believed, one fact was undeniable. The track broke streaming records overnight. Within 24 hours, "Forgive Me, Letter to a Mother" hit 10 million plays. Even King Von's mom couldn't ignore it. The next morning, she posted a simple story on Instagram, a black background with one sentence, "I heard it." No emojis. No hashtags. Just 3 words. And those 3 words became the most reposted phrase on hip-hop Twitter for the next 2 days. The internet erupted. "She heard it! That's closure! She's forgiven him!" But in typical internet fashion, the celebration didn't last. A day later, someone claiming to be close to her clarified, "She didn't say she forgave him. She said she heard it." And just like that, the mood shifted again. Forgiveness was never going to be easy. Not for her, and definitely not for him. But here's the irony. In trying to make peace, Durk had reignited every old wound. Every memory, every rumor, every conspiracy that had once died down was now trending again. Old clips of King Von resurfaced. YouTubers started dropping untold story videos. Even news outlets outside the music industry were running think pieces titled, "The Forgiveness Controversy, When Grief Meets Fame." The entire culture was feeding off a tragedy that never had a chance to rest. By the end of the week, Durk released one final statement. It wasn't long. Just a few lines on Instagram. "I said my piece. I meant every word. If that cost me my career, then that's God's plan, not mine." He turned off comments right after posting it. That message, calm, resigned, maybe even peaceful, marked the end of the storm. No more interviews, no more leaks, just silence again. And for the first time, people actually respected it. Because somewhere in the chaos, the world realized something they'd forgotten. This wasn't just a story about fame or forgiveness. It was about pain, real pain, the kind that doesn't trend, the kind that doesn't go away once the cameras stop. Lil Durk's downfall wasn't about guilt or innocence. It was about being human in a world that doesn't let humans heal in private. And as the noise faded, one question lingered. Did he find peace? or did he just run out of words? And that, right there, is how a man who built his career on loyalty ended up begging the world for forgiveness. Not from the fans, not from the labels, but from a mother whose pain he'll never be able to fix. Because when Lil Durk said, sorry, it wasn't just a word. It was a surrender. A moment where pride, fame, and fear all collapsed into one truth. That even in the spotlight, guilt doesn't fade when the lights go out. But now the question is, did he mean it? Or was this just another performance in the world's longest drama? Did he truly want peace? Or was this all a calculated move to clean up a messy legacy before the next project drops? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think. Was this a moment of real redemption? Or was it just strategy disguised as sorrow? Because in this story, forgiveness feels heavier than blame. And sometimes the truth sounds more like confession than closure. If you've been watching this saga from the beginning, from silence to scandal to apology, you already know this isn't over. The internet never forgets. And every apology comes with a receipt. So make sure you hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and turn on notifications, because tomorrow's headline might flip everything you think you know about Lil Durk. King Von, and the story that refuses to die. This is Spillora, signing off, where we expose the truth they try to bury, one headline at a time. Because in this world, even forgiveness goes viral. Even forgiveness goes viral.